Wow, I got to be quicker with that. I wasn't really paying attention. I was watching my intro and talking to TikTok. But welcome, all you Drangir and Shield Maidens. Welcome to tonight's episode of Dropping the Hammer. I'm your host, Warhammer. Tonight, we got a very special guest. We're going to bring him in just a little bit, but I'm going to talk for a few minutes about my match last night. The Sons of Plunder defended our tag team titles, and I want to say it was a very, very cold match. We were we wrestled in it was pretty much 30-40 degree weather. I'm not really sure what it was. Everybody had blankets. There were no heaters. Yeah, and it was quite cold. we we traveled all the way to Detroit, Rock City. Um, not really. Detroit, Texas. We were throwing a lot of people off by that. Everybody thought we were big time in it. No, Detroit, Texas, right outside of Paris, Texas. We got all the big cities here in Texas. We got Paris, we got London, we got Detroit. I mean, come on. Like, why do I have to leave Texas to go see these places? So it's always funny. Oh, look like we got some people in the post. So Miss Winnie, how are you this evening? We got a couple people watching on TikTok as well. Thank you everybody who's watching. So hopefully y'all are enjoying the cold weather. Like I said, it was not enjoyable last night. I always like wrestling, but wrestling outside in the cold. Um, mhm. So we went against a group from Arkansas. Um, they are the Omega. I'm not sure if they're Omega Inc. or anything like that, but the one gentleman's name I can remember. Not sure why I remember it, but Nate Hammer. So I wrestled Nate Hammer, who thought I'd be bigger. He said, with a name like Warhammer, he expected me to be bigger. Mark, good evening. What's up, brother? DJ, welcome to the show. Um, so yeah, apparently this gentleman had heard of me and wrestling, and was excited to wrestle some Vikings. When we got there, we found out we're basically dressed alike. Iron Belly had pants, luckily, so he was a little warmer, and he's got a little more natural insulation. He's built kind of like a polar bear, only smaller. I am not. I basically wrestle in my underwear, and so we kind of matched Omega, and one gentleman wrestled in a singlet, and Nate also had trunks on. So when I talked to Nate and was discussing our part of the match, the biggest thing was I said, I'm going to work a lot of holds, and it's not going to be cuddling. It's going to be for warmth. So, when I snatch a hold, it's just going to be because I can't feel my body and I need to, warm up a bit. And he agreed that was a great idea for us to, do that to survive. Um, Battle of the Hammers, heck yeah, that would have been fun and enjoyable. Yes. And like I said, it so we were the main event, and it was 7 o'clock at night. Uh the weather had plummeted and really just tanked on us. So it's now nighttime. There is no sun to warm up. We're outside, the wind. So it was we're gonna start the match strong regular style, and then we're just gonna de-evolve to chaos, and the match can be thrown out in 6 8 minutes. So gotta add hand warmers to your ring attire for Unfortunately, there's not much ring attire, so there would only be one part that would be warm, and it's at a certain point, my skin starts to turn blue. So you just tell, oh, I'm cold. uh yeah, Miss Winnie, the van. So we can talk about the van. A couple weeks ago, I wrestled a deer at 75 miles an hour, coming home from a show in Beaumont. Um, it it shattered one of the lights and the washer tank, the washer fluid tank. I can get those cheap at a pull yard. I just haven't done so, trying to make it through Christmas. So we're still limping, but you know, have Hammer will travel and we'll make some money to fix the van. So, got to get kicked in the face to do that, unless I can find some generous benefactor, some sponsor for the show. I make it big on TikTok, something like that. We are monetized everywhere, but I'll be honest with you, it's I've made less than 50 cents. I'm not complaining, but I'm not expecting I'm not expecting to be some famous podcaster or TikTok star. It'd be nice. I'm thankful for all the gifts that are sent, anything that is sent. But, I'm doing this myself for myself. And I'm trying to show that everybody can come along and we can all do better things. So I'm grateful for everybody that's posting comments and tuning in and jumping in to subscribe and stuff like that. So, I appreciate everybody. But yeah, we couldn't really have a match last night. It was too cold. So we ended up getting a count out. I think it was no, we did get a pin. We did get a pin. But it was now I remember, because it was all of a sudden quick. I was still, kind of cuddling with one person, and they said, "Go for your finish," and I went, "Okay." Boom, pin, 1, 2, 3. So we both looked strong, but it was entirely too cold. So I'm not gonna bore everybody about a freezing match that probably only lasted 6 minutes. So I do want to introduce our guest. He works with two different companies right now, SSW and SWF. We're going to bring him to the stage. Kevin Bivens, Mr. Richard Fortune. Welcome, welcome.
Hey, how's it going? Or should I say, how's it going?
I'm doing great, doing great. You were kind of watching a little bit backstage. Just, I've been talking about the show. Told you it was cold, man. I froze. I don't like wrestling outside in the cold. That's for sure.
Hey, you figured that'd be your element. You're a Viking, aren't you?
Oh, see, what I was telling them while I was freezing, that I'm one of those tropical Vikings. I'm a rare
Oh
breed.
yeah.
So, what are you up to, Mr. Fortune?
Not much, man. I just actually came back from they had a practice over at SWF. I was there for a little while and got home and got supper took care of, and then I planned to clear my schedule out so I could be here to talk to you. And other than that, I've been doing pretty good. Just soaking in the wrestling business, so to speak. I'm still, I feel like I'm an infant in the wrestling business, and I'm just learning as I go as much as I can.
Yeah, I keep saying I'm still on this learning journey. I I'm learning how to podcast by the seat of my pants. I've had to start this thing over like 3-4 times. I'm learning how to TikTok and trying to be marketable on all sides. It is difficult to juggle all these aspects of a persona and still almost have a full-time life on outside, but just to be able to maintain it is just kind of a hard thing to do. So absolutely learning. Tell me something you've picked up recently. I know you've been watching those guys train. Anybody standing out to you? Anybody coming along? Anybody having troubles?
There's three of them that I've been noticing a lot lately. That from where I've went and seen them, of course. They're doing pretty good. I think their only problem is they're getting the moves down. It's just something I learned, because my background, I don't have a big background in wrestling like a lot of people I run into do. I think some of my background kind of leads more towards theater. I took theater when I was in school and things like that. So that's where I kind of get my storytelling element from. But something I've really picked up on over the years that I didn't have an eye for when I was younger was the storytelling aspect in the actual ring. It's one thing to do a storytelling through your promos and things like that, but a lot of people just think that wrestlers just do moves, just to do moves, and that's not true. They're building towards something, and I think some of the new wrestlers that come in, they don't. That's probably, in my opinion, besides talking in front of a live audience, of course, and being nervous that you're going to mess something up, is learning that, and that's something I've been gracious that I've been around the right people at the right time to kind of teach me by watching, being an observer. Just like my early days at SWF before I got on SSW as well. I was given the opportunity to run into good wrestlers like you, like Victor Morbius, like a lot of guys run through, and just I got to, instead of just being a fan watching from a TV screen, I actually got to really observe y'all's movements in the ring, and it really is like a song and dance. And these guys that are coming in need to understand that anyone can do a move, and it looked cool, but if that's all it is, it's just a circus act. So what is something that's going to draw someone in month to month, day to day, that's going to really appreciate and love what you're doing? You got to give them more to bite on. And that's where the storytelling in the ring comes in. So the moves do have meaning. You're building to something. Sometimes you're teasing. And it's good that, and I don't mean to ramble, but it's good for people to the newer wrestlers to understand that.
No, I mean, you're not rambling. That is a perfect, psychology. That's the one word that stands out to me. Yes, to me, that's it. It even stands out when they're named. They're just 1, 2, 3 name. Bam, bam, bam. So you're losing the psychology on part of wrestling. I know everybody can be just a regular name, but make something that stands out. That was my way of standing out by naming myself Warhammer. I went back to Undertaker and chose to break the mold because it was everybody's basic name, and even your location. I Undertaker was from Death Valley, so I'm from Jotunheim. I'm from some foreign land. I'm not from someplace you can find me in Walmart. And yes, I try to make everything make sense, because to me, that's what wrestling is and was. It's a challenge of comic book characters, and we have to make it make sense. Yes, there's a time and place for these triple axle flips and triple 720s and but it doesn't have to be every match, every time, every show. You got to give them something to believe. When Sons of Plunder break through that curtain, we are instantly, oh, those no go. Okay, yeah. They look like Vikings. We are Vikings. So it's instantly recognizable, and we've got your attention. So absolutely, doing moves is one thing, but understanding why you're doing these moves is it. You touched on something, theater kid. I'm a theater kid, but I was in theater and football at the same time, so I had to had to pick and choose my battles at that point, but this is just a combination of those two. So I get to use my theater and my movement skills and get to be rough and roughhouse with my favorite guys. So that is why I enjoy wrestling.
Yeah, wrestling, and I'm, just uh piggybacking on some of the things you said, that's I do enjoy y'all do a good Sons of Plunder does a really good job of, as a fan, if you're watching y'all, really suspending disbelief and being able to relax and enjoy y'all, because y'all put on a really good performance from y'all's entrance to the end. I mean, your entrance, just kind of the way y'all come out, you know, I don't know. The first time I watched y'all, I'm not gonna lie, for a moment I looked over at Adam and I'm like, are these guys really Norris or something? Am I missing something? Because y'all come out and y'all look brutal. Like, I mean, I'm telling you right now, when you come out, you're like, man, I don't want to be caught in the alley with one of these dudes. And then that big, when y'all line up in the ring and hit y'all's hammers and stuff, right on, y'all are meaning business. And I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a kid and just enjoying the fantasy aspect of your characters, or you're an adult and you're just kind of thinking to yourself, man, these guys are like the Road Warriors on like steroids. They look like they're about to beat somebody. I enjoy it. And I do think it's very important to put enough time and effort into your character to where you have that entrance, because that's like your opening invitation to new fans that might not have seen you before.
That is my minute 10 promo every show in a new location, just to show you who I am. And that's, that's what Miss Shaw says. It's menacing, just we come out, we have an aura, we intimidate, you're hooked for that split second. You forgot you are in a wrestling show and no, two Vikings just showed up. It's beautiful because I technically Iron Belly is a dwarf from under the mountain, but I've never questioned his religion. So but it's beautiful because when you go into deep of the depths of my character, the meat and grit of my character, all of the Norse gods had magical weapons made by dwarves. So I just got me a dwarf to come over and we just smack people with our hammers. Allegedly.
It's almost like you're his magical weapon, your Warhammer.
And that's kind of what it is. Miss Winay says she's always loved the Viking culture, and we definitely pull it off. Yes, I love it. My gimmick. It's all started as a joke. I was like, I'm gonna be a Viking, so I don't have to shave. Ha ha ha. And that was really all it was. And then it built onto it, and it was like, no, I'm gonna carry a hammer. And it was like, oh, all this has been done before. And I was like, just wait. I'm gonna do something different. And once it's all complete, you'll see it. And once I got the mohawks, once I got the cape and the mask and everything, and people have I've been at work and people have pulled up my Facebook and they're like, you say you were a professional wrestler and I don't see it, but I clicked on this and I was, that guy's a professional wrestler. You're just at work. And I'm like, that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, that's when you're actually living a character and you're not just being yourself. I know some people can get away with that, but I think it takes a lot more effort, in my opinion, to play a character that's not you.
I was told when I started wrestling to find something about you, crank it to 11. Well, Warhammer is me because I've played football, and in that arena, you're against me. You're padded up, so I can hit you as hard as I can, and I take that same mentality into the ring. You signed up for this too. You signed up for this beating, so take it like a man. I'm going to give you my body so you can, give me equal comeback. My receipt is right there. So take it when you need to. So that, I love the physicality, and to me, it makes me feel alive.
Yeah, it's literally choreographed violence. And it's really cool because I think even in a day and age that we're in right now, it's good for wrestling to have a renaissance and be kind of seeming like it's blowing up a bit. And people need to get out of the house after all the floods and all the, the COVIDs and everything. I think people are starting to want to get outside again. And wrestling is just a really cool thing to do where you can go for an hour or two, chill, get you some good grub and drinks, and just get away from your stress from a little while and not be, a lot of people just get hammered on social media and everywhere with political jargon and religious previews and all this stuff. And I find it refreshing that wrestling, for the most part, while it might sometimes dig a little bit into that stuff, it's not in your face. So it's one of the few places left on earth, I think, where you can go and have a good time and just kind of get away from everything.
Absolutely. I stand by this. If I can suspend your belief for 10 minutes, I'm going to make you forget about your bills. I'm going to make you forget about your wrecked car. I'm going to make you forget about you just got off a 40-hour shift. You don't want to be doing anything, but here you are at a show, whatever it is. I'm going to make you forget about your life for that, from curtain to curtain. I know that you have now forgotten everything because you're focused on me. The reason I know that, and I may sound bad, but I've done that for myself already. That's me breaking myself, and I am pretending for 10 minutes that I don't have bills, that I didn't just wreck my car a couple weeks ago, that I didn't just work 40 hours all this week, So I'm suspending my beliefs as well to make sure you get the same show. You've paid money. I'm not going to say you paid money to see me, but essentially you did pay money to see me. I'm going to give you that money's worth. Even if it is 8 minutes, I'm going to make you believe that, whoa, something's real in this lick. If I've got to hit this guy one time to let you know that I'm serious, that's the Sons of Plunder. We bring the violence. You said the Road Warriors on steroids. That scares me because they were on steroids. So that says something about us, man.
Well, no, it's just I'm assuming maybe you got a little bit of your aspiration from them. I see a little bit of it.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have,
but I
no
mean,
idea what you're talking about.
And they were awesome too, and so are y'all.
They were an inspiration, absolutely.
I enjoy all that, and character I play, at SWF, I play Rich Fortune, and if anybody listens to my accent when I'm playing him enough and start listening to my mannerisms and how I talk, you should be able to definitely tell there's like an amalgamation of people. I can actually tell you exactly where I got my amalgamation from. It's literally Vince McMahon, $1 Million Man. If anyone's watched Smokey and the Bandit and they know who Buford T. Justice is, there's some Buford T. Justice mixed in with some Foghorn Leghorn. Definitely an amalgamation of all those.
Now I can see the culmination of this character. I can basically pinpoint you on a map. That's funny.
Yep.
Now I do gotta ask a question. You've known me for what, over a year, Got to bring you back to May. the trash can lid from hell.
Oh yeah.
So you're talking about realism. One of the things we do really well is bleed accidentally. That's the only time I've ever thrown up my ex. Did you know something was up then or sooner? I know you I remember a little bit of commentary and then everything goes fuzzy for me. So you got to tell me what you were thinking during commentary when you saw me throw that X.
Well, when all that happened and you got hit by that trash can, where y'all were at an angle away from the commentary booth. Y'all were like on the opposite side of the ring. So in the past, when I started first commentating, I would sometimes forget or I'd be confused whether it was an actual spot or if an accident happened. So I started learning to just like call the match as it is and how I would perceive it if it is in fact a spot, and then get the real details later. At the time, I thought maybe it was a spot that y'all had planned. I did not know at the time that the way you actually got hit until after the commentary was over and I actually got told, oh, hey, he actually got, cut up and stuff. So, I mean, at the time I was just calling the match. I mean, if you're commentating and you're which I don't claim to be a great commentator, I'm still learning, but if you're worth your salt at commentating, you're just trying to make sure if the performer's out there and he's giving it his all, you should be doing your, pardon my French, damnedest to illustrate that story as best as you can. So, I mean, it may be in the back of my mind for a moment, I might be questioned if something actually happened, but I was too busy trying to put the match to bed, so to speak.
The show must go on. I mean, you're essentially, they say there's 3 men in the ring, but there's the fourth man, which is the commentary. So I understand. Yeah, you were keeping the show going. And I do remember right before I kind of went down, it was Warhammer's going to need some stitches after this show. And it's like, I know that's when people from the back started pulling up. I don't really remember much because adrenaline and whatnot, but I'm thankful for everybody that helped me out, like I said, but I just had to find out your perspective. You've known me and everybody, I've told everybody I'm not gonna gig. So anytime I bleed, it is for real and there's an accident. So just want to comment real quick. Yes, a receipt is when if someone messes up and hits a little hard, you can come back and say, keep your cool. But I'm using that as an analogy. When I attack someone, they can always come back. So if I'm going to chop you, I know I can take a receipt chop or some other move to get you over. So I'm willing to take a punishment,
Yeah, give and take.
Give and take. It's okay. It would have gone, like right here on the wall is what I was thinking. The trash can lid. It's all fine.
Like a souvenir.
Yes. The thing that almost took out Warhammer.
Well, we're glad you're still here for sure.
Yeah. I'm glad to be with you guys. It was an unfortunate string of events, 8 injuries in 8 months, but coming back on a winning streak again, and we're not getting injured anymore, so we're taking that as a win. So what's it like working with SSW and SWF? I'm not trying to get into the weeds of it, but 2 different companies, 2 different mentalities, 2 different mission statements, essentially. How do you feel going back and forth between those 2?
Honestly, at first it was hard because in the wrestling business, you notice that each organization is very, very independent in some ways, and they're almost like one of them types to where they don't like you. I'm not saying they don't like you going places and maybe making your money or whatnot, but they're
But they don't like
very
you going places.
close-lipped as far as how they run business with each other. So it was kind of like, for me, I guess I navigated it better than some because I used to be a store manager for a company for around 20 something years. So I mean, I kind of know how to toe a company line, and that helped a lot. And I guess one of the cool things about it is that they are different, so it makes it easier for me to flip hats, and that I have different jobs. Adam Morgan, which is the main owner of SWF. I'll always be grateful for him to bring me into this. Mm-hmm. And there they got me as commentary / character owner. I do help a little bit with production. I help a little bit with creative. So I have a few miniature hats on there, and then over at SSW, with their guys, which I'm forever grateful for, Adam Tomplate, Justin Fruge, and also Scotty Brunell Jr. Them are the 3 owners at SSW. I'm actually in the office there. I'm a manager of creative and talent, and I'm co-booker, co-writer there. So I get to wear a different hat. I'm not in the show. That helps. Like I'm in the actual production and office over there, to where at SWF, I'm very much in the show, and I play a character, and so I've got to see a good bit of both. Actually, I don't know if anyone knows this. It's not like it's a big secret anymore, but I'm actually dabbling now. I've become a manager. My character is actually now the manager of Colton Keith, and so we get to see that journey play out. It first revealed itself last show. So, but it's been an experience. I got to meet a ton of new wrestlers, a bunch of great people. I think my exposure to both being in both companies has widened my view. And you're right, they're very different. Um, SSW is very much, mid South, old school, late '80s, early '90s wrestling with maybe a modern coat of paint. And then where SWF to me is kind of like Attitude Era type style WWE mixed with a little bit of ECW, a little bit of TNA, kind of just all amalgamated together. So there is differences to be sure, but it was hard at first. It was a little hard transitioning, but now I've kind of gotten to where I'm used to working for multiple companies. So as long as I have the time to do it and I'm not neglecting my family or anybody, I won't ever go into anything without putting 100% into it. So I enjoy it. I get to see all these performers perform and do what they love, and be a part of it. So I'm very blessed and very humbled to be a part of this and to continue to learn.
I mean, that's exactly how I feel. The fact that, everybody wants to watch me talk about my life and wrestling and wants to post and come on, the fact that I'm on TikTok and all this, it blows me away because I'm pretending I'm a bad guy or I'm a good guy. And like you said, I agree. It is kind of weird how some companies will take on a model of wrestling. And yes, you said it. We unfortunately I might have brought a little bit of ECW to SWF, but I was in a group. I'm still in a group, Warrior Wrestling Alliance, and I was talking to the owner, and I said, I'm glad you're bringing back gimmick wrestling because in one match there were Cowboys versus Vikings versus gangsters. Tell me tell me that
Gangsters,
doesn't
huh?
scream fight. All we did was punch each other. That was a great match.
Kind
So
of reminds me. Kind of reminds me of what was that epic rap battles of history type thing going on,
yes,
huh?
yes. And also back on Spike TV, it was the strongest warrior or the most deadliest warrior where they would take like a ninja and against a Spartan soldier and they'd say, oh,
Oh
this guy,
yeah, I remember that.
like yes, it you want to see these groups fight because oh, okay, yeah, that just makes sense. Cowboys, Vikings, gangsters, they all like fighting, so just throw them in a pit, throw them in a cage, strongest man survives. Let's bring it out. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the thing that's over the top there is the gangsters.
But that's I grew up as a kid watching, the 70s and 80s wrestling, but once I was old enough to really get into it, I was watching WCW and the Attitude Era going back and forth, Nitro versus Raw Wars. I remember that, clearly, being able to switch back and forth. I didn't care for the company. I started following the wrestler, and that's what I bring. That's what I bring to the table. You love me or hate me, it doesn't really matter. You know I'm there. Everybody, I'm there for some serious business once I bring my hammer out. And oh no, there's two of them.
Yeah, definitely. Um, do y'all? One thing I'll ask is that y'all have traveled and wrestled in several places.
Mhm.
Have you had any hard times finding other tag teams that kind of match y'all's intensity and like y'all's gravitas, so to speak?
I'm going, everything's kind of calculating in my head. First off, no, we, tr- I always try to find something. Okay, what is your gimmick? Okay, what is your gimmick? What are y'all like doing? So I'm trying to make them, I'm trying to find a way I can put them over first before I even worry about putting us over, because our intensity is going to just our brute force. That's what keeps putting us over. So I'm looking how I can help them. And it's usually a lot of times when we go places, we're scheduled to lose. As long as we're not defending the belts or doing something with a certain storyline, a lot of times when we go out, we're jobbers. But we're there to put them over, and then they recognize, hey, these guys know what they're doing because they're able to handle themselves. They're throwing these guys around with ease. Oh, look, they can both do big moves, but they're choosing not to. Oh, it's almost like there's something a little bit, hidden, kept in reserve. I want to see more from them. I'll come back next week. That's
Yes.
that's what we find most of. I don't really say that we find anything difficult, but I do sometimes struggle with how to put them over because I may not understand gimmicks.
Yeah, and what could be a problem in some cases is if the wrestlers you're fighting don't understand their own gimmicks, then that makes it worse because then you're trying to help them figure out who they are, then trying to mold a match together on the fly a lot of times. Just been my exposure that some of these places y'all go to, the matches are, I don't know if they're always put together on the fly, but I mean, that just shows that's another thing. A lot of wrestlers don't get enough credit for being able to perform on the fly, having to travel, having to sacrifice their personal time. It really is a passion job in my view.
Sean Marie says 100%. Yeah, I'll be honest. We called most of the stuff in the ring last night, and like I said, it was cuddle time. that was the only concern I had with part of it. Oh, take this move, boom. Okay, now it's time to cuddle again. Uh, um, I cannot remember too much once I've fallen down a half dozen times. After I've fallen down 6 times, what are we doing? Because I do not remember. I can remember certain portions of it, and that's why I want to just call it in the ring. I know what I'm doing. Just do a move, call it, bam. I can handle you putting me in a position, calling it, and then taking the move because I know what I need to do because of my training. So it's easy for me. I do want to drop a couple names. I was talking backstage, Nate Hammer, and just to show that the wrestling world is so small, he was telling me about this match he did in Arkansas with a gentleman, and he said this guy, some guy, Chris Preston, and I kind of my ears, woo, Spidey senses perked up because I know a Chris Preston. So, hey, describe this Chris Preston. And he goes, Chris, I'm better than you, Preston. And I was like, oh, so that's my trainer. And he goes, oh, so he trained you? I said, yes, sir. He goes, okay, well, we just had a banger 30-minute match where all we did was talk in the ring and we didn't call anything in the back. And you think you can do that? And I was like, well, I'm his second trained. So the second person he actually trained as a wrestler that kept wrestling, boom, I'm his number 2. And he goes, oh, I've got no more questions for you. You can do it. You can handle it. Boom, boom, boom. And he starts talking about other things. So it was that, oh, I know who you are based off of someone who started you. So I said, everything Chris Preston taught me, bam, I use. So I got you. I see it. I believe it. Now I understand it. And then they kept dropping names. Keelik Sunrise, Aaron Storm. I know Aaron Storm was in the TikTok a little bit ago. Ring Bully, kept dropping a couple names. I know a couple of these guys, but that just shows the ring world is smaller once you start traveling in Texas. So it's all my guys out of Northeast Texas.
Yeah, and a lot of the guys I've seen from up there, they're all really good wrestlers. Just like Kilik Sunrise and Stevan Remsen that you just named, I've seen them all They're really good wrestlers. They're consummate professionals. Um, and while I don't know anything about the ring itself, I've never wrestled. I would never pretend to say that stuff. Um, as a writer, now that I've gotten, I think I want to say about 9 months worth of actual like co-booking and writing, I try to like, because I know guys travel and they got jobs and everything. What I always try to do is I try to like for SSW, I try to get our like production notes, if you want to call them that, out to the talent as quick as possible. And what I do is we might be trying to tell a story, an ongoing story at our show, but I try to make sure that all I'm doing is putting a coat of paint and that the actual creativity in the ring is still upon y'all as wrestlers. Um, and I would just like to ask, as far as like where you've went, where you've wrestled, um, is there some places you go to where it's like, hey, do whatever you want? Is there certain places where it's like you're going to do this move, that move, and this move and that move? Is it a variety? Or is it pretty similar across the board?
I've never really faced a strict script, we'll call it that. No, certain metrics they've wanted us to touch on. Other than that, no. It is all what you see is what Warhammer has created, either in the front or in the back, talking about the match. I prefer to do a lot of stuff just soaking in the environment, talking to the crowd, talking to the ref, my opponent, whatever it is, even commentary, using you guys, whatever y'all said as my next attack or something else, because it's all psychology, something Chris instilled in all of us from the School of Lions in Marshall, Texas. So you know there were sometimes we would be in the ring, sometimes we'd be sitting in chairs. So training wasn't always physical, it was mental, because this is a combination of both, like we've talked about. It's theater meets physical, football meets ballet. you know it, it's a beautiful thing because we get to make up a story. I have no problem, if you give me an outline, but the journey from A to Z is all created by the wrestlers. I've
Yep.
never really had anybody tell me how many times to fall down. I'll tell them flat out, I can't remember all that.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. I was just curious because, like I said, I've only physically been around 3 wrestling companies. Now I worked for 2, but the other one I went to was called USWX. I think they're in Livingston. I was there and I helped commentate one of their shows. But aside from that, I've only been, SWF and SSW. So I was curious about that. Um, and I agree. I mean, that's y'all's space. I feel that's sacred for y'all to tell y'all story in the ring. Um, and just like for me, I kind of learned this off of somebody. I'd like to remember his name, and I can't right now. But they were interviewing him. I don't know who was interviewing him, but the whole point was when wrestlers would come to his wrestling show, he would give them this paper and it had number sequences on it. He wouldn't say anything other than the number sequences. And the sequences were always with ones and twos. So one piece of paper that the lady had pulled up said, "You handed this wrestler 1 2 1 2." Now, me being somebody that's not in the wrestling business, what does this mean? And he's like, "Well, my ones represent my heels, and my 2 represents my baby faces, and this is how I want the flow of the match to go. With obviously the last number I have on the paper is who's going over." I was like, "Wow," you know. So, like for me, when I do that, my main concern as a writer, so I kind of walk on that thin line where I'm not stepping into like y'all's creative bubble 100%, is I just try to put a coat of paint on it that a normal human being that's not wrestled brain can understand, you know, because to me, I think a lot of indie wrestlers, not all, they do things that only indie people or people in that niche would understand. For me, I look at it like this. I'm like, well, if I'm going to ask an audience to return to our show month after month after month after month, there's certain things as a writer I need to do. One, I need to play off my wrestler's strengths. Two, I need to give them the creativity to show the audience who they are. And I also need to be willing to be flexible. And also, I need to make sure every one of my wrestlers are validated and credible, so that any given night, and I'm going to kind of be a cheesemo right here and do a cheese plug if you don't mind. On any given Star Brawl Saturday night, somebody can win a belt. And I mean, I feel like if all of your wrestlers are validated through the writing and they're allowed to be their character without, being on a puppet string, so to speak, I think that just makes a better show, a better quality show, and it gives value to the whole show to where you're not like, oh, this guy's going to lose every time. Why do I want to see this? So I mean, that's just how I approach it. And I don't know if you've ran into any bookers or ran into anybody maybe along your path. I'm not trying to get you to like throw dirt on anybody, but I mean, is there ever been an instance where you've kind of like felt like, or maybe thought to yourself, like some of them maybe, I don't know, like book with feelings instead of booking for story purposes?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I even had a podcast a couple of weeks ago, about a month or so ago, that officially tanked because someone thought I was burying my opponents, burying the bookers, and then I had to do another podcast that was explaining my words and showing how I didn't bury anybody. But absolutely, it's it is a sport of favoritism just as much as it is violence. So uh, it yeah, yeah, without going into too many names, yes, absolutely. So
Yeah, and to me, that's just not good for the shows in general, in my opinion. Um, because I mean, it just if you're a writer and you're trying to get people to love your show, you should want every wrestler you have on your roster to seem like they can beat anybody.
you want
You know,
everybody to be legitimate, you want everybody to be established, you want everybody to be credible
yes,
and a threat. Every and certain people shouldn't be a threat, but you got that underdog story. I can understand that, but you can't keep having underdog after underdog after underdog after underdog. Then this person becomes a joke. And
yeah, you have to flip it up.
yes, I do feel less than credible at a couple of places. So
Yeah, I won't lie. I've had a few times where I've been pulled into storylines where I kind of didn't really understand them, and it was like one of them things where it was like trust the process. Um, and sometimes it worked out better than I thought. Sometimes I was like, well, this is kind of how I thought it was going to turn out. But like, yeah, it's like when I'm booking for SSW and I'm looking at the characters, I want the losses to have meaning as well as the wins. Why did this character lose? What is going to happen to him? Where is he going from there? And you're right, stories should not repeat themselves, because then the fans could pretty much tell what's going to happen before it happens. So what I do is, and this sounds really nerdy and everything, I pull my individual storyline matches from shows I've watched. Like, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to give it away. I don't want to give it away. But there is a wrestling match that I wrote. And I will tell you that when you watch said wrestling match, you'll know what I'm saying right here. You'll know I was talking about this match, and I'm not going to give away who's in it. I'm not going to give away who wins. I'm just going to say that I got my inspiration from Rocky 2. That's it.
but that's the beauty of what we do. We can pull inspiration from wrestling. I saw a meme that said, "Oh, you like sci-fi? Watch wrestling. You like romance? Watch wrestling. You like
Yep.
comedy? Watch wrestling. You like violence? Watch wrestling." And it was just, wrestling has all of that. I enjoy being um, I enjoy being my character because I get to play that line. Sometimes I get to play brute, just complete brutality. I get to play, semi stupid stupid. I don't want to call my character stupid, but it's just thick and dense. I'm not quite getting it, so I'm making a joke, but I don't get the joke. It's one of those things. That's why I was able to do a grass skirt dance with a Hawaiian guy. It's that little thing that just separates. I get it. So I love getting to do that little thing just for sheer just for the crowd. That is the only reason I wrestle midgets, to make myself look like an idiot, to make them look like $1,000,000, and it makes everybody else want to come back and see their show. I am I'm a fly on their show wall, but it adds legitimacy to all of it. And that's that, just getting a little bit of inspiration from everything, you can use it and make it mean a million different stories. Oh, live or
Yeah, what I
stupid.
like about your character is, for people that don't know, when I met you, I had no idea who you were. I literally thought you were your character 1,000%. So when I finally talked to you, I'm like, oh wow, man, you do a really good job. Your characterizations are really well. From the way you talk, to your mannerisms, to the way your body language is, and even how you kind of like you glare and do certain things that you don't do when we're talking to you, when you're not Warhammer, when you don't got your big hammer and you're about to beat somebody to death. But and I think that's really awesome. I just remember, I asked Adam when they booked you the first time, and I first seen you, I'm like, man, you better not get on his bad side. He's gonna beat the trash out of you.
Someone posted online and it said, name a wrestler that's the same inside the ring as outside the ring. And I commented, I think I'm, similar, I'm pretty similar inside the ring. And they've said, no, Warhammer is not nice.
No, he's not.
All I could think of was, but I'm Warhammer all the time. You just haven't crossed me.
Yeah, possible, yeah.
We haven't set those boundaries yet, and we're not inside the ring, because then the whole everything changes. It's so quick, but because I'm I'm holding that dog way back, and just let
Well, I think it's just a variety of how you portray your character. I think some people, when they play characters, there is a lot of them within that character, but there's divisions of it. I'll say this, for my character, Rich Fortune, he's nothing like me. He is like the farthest thing from me. For one, I can pronounce most of my words correctly. I don't have a redneck. I don't have this really bombastic accent. I'm not a trillionaire.
Dusty Rhodes. I thought you were going to say Dusty Rhodes when you were pulling all the names.
Well, I mean, I won't lie. I probably did get some of that because I watched that as a kid. I probably did get a little bit of Dustin Rhodes, the natural, in there. But Rich Fortune, he's not, to me, he's nothing like me. I feel like I'm a pretty humble person and pretty chilled and laid back, to where he's kind of like, he's really bombastic. He's like got more money than he can know what to do with, and he's literally, and just to give a peek back on my character's performance, like as far as how I talk, my character literally bought his wrestling company at an auction while he was bored and had to do a pit stop. So the character itself doesn't know anything about wrestling. So I baked that into my performance and commentary, and I've also baked that in how he talks. So like, just like a promo I did that's already online, so I'm not giving it away, with Remsen. He's naming all these wrestlers, and I know who they are, but Rich Fortune don't give any trash who they are. He's almost acting like you don't even know who they are. He's just pretty much like blowing it off, like, am I supposed to know these people, type stuff. And what I try to do is, I try to make my character so wonky that it peels away from a lot of the realism. I'm sure there may be some southern rich dude in left field that might be partially as bombastic as Rich Fortune is. But I mean, the name alone is gimmick as heck. Rich Fortune. I mean, who's named somebody that?
Sounds
Um,
like money. Sounds like they come from money.
yeah, exactly. The name tells off on the character, and then the voice, well, how you doing, Warhammer? I see you got a podcast now. I guess my check finally came through. Things like that. I think that's what I appreciate most about being around. Everybody that wrestles, you and everybody else, is the amount of effort and time that y'all put into y'all's characters. Not just doing vocals or doing a persona, but just the performance itself within the ring and the commitment to it all.
I mean, it's you said it earlier. We talked about this at theater. I kind of I kind of lettered in theater. Like I got the Letterman jacket from theater, club and all this stuff. Yeah, I was in theater club. I did so many plays, one act plays. I've been in plays since I was a kid. So acting has always been, easy for me. This just allowed me to be a character, and I don't, I try to stay humble, but I've gone so far with this character. It's amazing. I put on even my vocals, like you said. I kind of put an accent on, and I speak with a growl and even different than I am now. I
Yeah,
barely talk.
bravado for sure.
Yeah. Um, it's I always try to plan it even in my promos. I did one promo, and um it was at the first couple of minutes you couldn't even tell if I even understood what the guy was talking about, because he asked me some questions and I was answering incorrectly, and then I started speaking, and it was you kind of understand, and that scares me. So it's one of those things, you just don't know what to do with me, and I can be that putty that just makes so much with so much work. I love it.
I know what to do with him. Just point him in a direction that's not towards you and just let him hammer time. Almost like the Avengers, where Captain America looks at Hulk and says, and you smash,
And that's essentially why we have our girl Valkyrie. We wanted originally I was trying to find, it's not a gimmick group, but I was trying to find a berserker, I was trying to find a twin hammer, I was trying to find a chick, and somebody else. I'm getting restricted, so I'm not going to say what I was looking for, but a smaller person. So TikTok is not liking me working with the little groups, so I
Yeah.
have to say that way. Um, but it was just so we could. It was odd, but it was, oh, these, once we see these guys work together, it's over. So our chick Valkyrie, we had her come out, and it's essentially she would sick us on whoever. She's helped us win a couple of victories. We've cheated, yeah, but that's we wanted to bring as many people as we could to add legitimacy again, but for everybody to get work, because she works out of Paris. So getting her down south, just more, to meet more people, it makes us look bigger and stronger, more fans. Oh, you've got a chick. Well, now we've got girls following because there's a girl wrestler. So it just adds another layer, another layer, another layer. We're all baking this cake together to make this show go well.
Yep. Definitely. Every performer on the show matters because they all fit into certain pieces that make the show as a whole.
I agree. I agree. And that's why I struggle myself to make sure I'm bringing what, essentially I'm bringing what you guys are paying for, but what they're paying to see. Yes, you guys are paying me to come down there, but if I'm doing a bad job, I need to know about it, but um I can kind of tell based off of the crowd, as long as they're getting bigger. somebody's doing their job. I'm hoping it's me. I'm hoping it's other guys. We all look better together because I the only way a heel looks good is if the baby face is looking bad. So that means the baby face needs to work. But if the heel gets heat, the baby face looks so much better. Some jackass coming in and knocking over some guy in a walker, that's a lot of heat. That's instant heat for someone to just walk in to an established place and, oh, he just knocked over a guy we like. We don't like him.
Yeah, you definitely got a lot of heat at that show.
But that is why I had to have him on the episode right after that, as we were talking about it, just so we could say that, hey, this was talked about beforehand. This is not me just committing a hate crime.
Hey, but I mean that segment, the whole match, that was if I'm not mistaken, that was your match you had with Finnegan.
Correct.
And that goes back to the booking elements of stuff, just like as season 2 approaches and stuff like that. I know that at SSW we're going to love to have y'all back, and we eventually want to go to a point down the road of having a tag team division. And I mean, we can't have a tag team division if we don't have the Sons of Plunder a part of it. But like that match there, when I was talking about the booking, Finnegan had come in and was a good sport, and he got himself into some bad ruts, and he lost some. But that told a story for his character, and it was a story of him becoming validated. And that's where I say, when you're booking the wrestlers as they come in somewhere, you got to try to validate your other ones when you can. And so, I mean, that match, it was a great match. It was an entertaining match. But from the other aspect of the match, it did several things. One, it established that even though your character lost, he's not to be trifled with. He didn't lose weak. There's a difference between losing weak and losing strong. He lost looking like he still can whoop somebody's butt. And at the same time, it also validated Finnegan's character to have taken a win on such a strong, force of nature, I would say. And that's the kind of song and dance to these wrestling shows, is that, and that's why it's really good to go out and see them and be entertained by them, as they give you a lot for your value. There's a lot to it. You get the bang, you get the entertainment, you get the physicality. These people, y'all put y'all's bodies on the line. There could be one. It just takes one wrong move from one of y'all for it to be over.
One trash can lid.
Yeah, one trash turned the wrong way, mind you. I don't know that the lid itself would have been that bad.
No, it was the fact, I think it had a metal handle on it. And it was
Oh, you know what? You're right. See, when that happened, there was a bunch of conflicting ideas on why you got, because like I said, when I was commentating, I didn't know what had happened. I actually had to wait to afterwards to even hear.
Over my head. He didn't do anything, it wasn't and crushed it. It was just a bonk and move on. So the attack wasn't wrong. Wasn't even spun wrong, the wrong direction. There had to be a handle. There had to been something.
Yeah, I mean, well, some of them trash can lids made out of that material, that type of metal, over time, and I've noticed this, when they get worn or they've been old, I don't know what causes this, but some of the metal fragments will actually come up. And it's very quite possible when he hits you that the fragments caught your skin as he come through.
And this is thin, it doesn't take much. So I'm just glad it wasn't any worse than it was, but it made for some good pictures.
So yeah, I'm one of the ones that made some of them jokes about the pictures. I'm sorry. It's just when that one picture come out, the first thing I thought about was Passion of Christ. And I was like,
the only one.
And then I seen you, I was like, Passion of the Viking.
But that's it. I'm willing to put myself on the line to do this. I'm willing to do this in front of people just to show that this is what we do. This is storytelling at the extreme point, but It's storytelling.
Yep. And it's real. There's no CGI. There's no the shows are not as heavily scripted as some might think.
There's no redo.
Um, yeah, everything has to be done right then and there, and
You know,
it's amazing.
I I kind of pride myself on doing nearly everything one take. I hate doing two promos, having to redo a promo. It's one of those things. I pride myself on being able to get it out there, one shot, one take. I'm doing one move, boom. I don't have to redo it. If I've got to redo it, I'm probably gonna switch to something else. I'm gonna figure out what doesn't work, and I'm gonna make something else work. Just like in the ring, if I go to do something and nope, there's a problem, I'm gonna switch it up and figure something else out. Uh, I cannot. I can't just stop, wait, let me reset. I didn't do that right. No, I'm just gonna grab something else and I'm gonna make that second one even worse because now it's got some stank on it because the first thing didn't work. I'm gonna make it into something even though it started with nothing.
Yeah, and it's like you're there, and you just you get used to the stress to some degree, and when you become, that's why it's important what I was saying at the beginning a little bit about the newer wrestlers having to know who their character is, because I think when you're cutting a promo, when you're telling your story in the ring, when you're doing all these things to portray to the audience, to have them believe you're that character while your character is out there being betrayed, something that was told to me back in theater was that, there's two things you need to know to put on a performance. It's what to say and how to say it. Well, if you know your character, you've knocked 50% of that out. You know how to say it. Now you just need to know what to say, and that probably goes for the physical aspect too. You could easily just say, well, what would Warhammer do?
And that's exactly how I think about it. What would Warhammer do? Anybody that wants to interview me as Warhammer, I ask them, what are you going to ask me? That way I can kind of come up with how he would talk, how he would respond, what he's even going to say. And like one of the last promos I did at LOL, the girl said, well, I'm just going to ask you how you feel and what it's like being the number one contender. And I was like, okay, bet. And then as soon as she started asking me the questions, I started acting, and it scared her because she didn't know what I was going to do. And I was like, afterwards, I was like, I didn't mean to scare you, but I needed to know so I could build my character. And then you responded the way you needed to. See how, I got to do my job so you can do your. That made you nervous. Well, that's what my character does. I'm scary, I'm brute. Coming after a match, you don't want to talk to me because you want to fight also. Oh no, just want to talk. Okay, I'm sorry. Well, that's your champion now. It was that. Just bringing a little more realism, even in that small 10-second promo I did.
Yeah, and I mean, for everybody that knows their character like you do, you can flip it on like a light switch. And that's probably what got her. She was talking to you, and then she's like 1 minute talking to you, and the next it's like you just put on that Warhammer aura, and you went aura farming all over, so to speak. And she's like, "What the heck? Where did he go? It's Warhammer."
But that's why I say Warhammer is me. He is inside here. It's I always told people there's a Hulk inside of everybody. We are Bruce Banner and Hulk. It's just whenever we choose to bring that out. Warhammer is my Hulk for sure, and everybody can see that in the ring. It doesn't matter what size you are. I am equal to you in every aspect. So it's yes, I will turn it on at like a light switch. And you said it's easy for me because I'm always, it's right there. I'm leaning into it, and that's where Andy stays, is he's right there on that one foot, but it can turn to Warhammer so quickly.
It's almost like you're riding a fence, and if you just step over that fence, you're Warhammer. But if you step back over, you're Andy again.
That is it. That is it. I say Warhammer lives, from curtain to curtain, but he's always right there. He is right there. I mean, Warhammer's been the one in all the fights I've ever been in. Warhammer was the one in football. Warhammer's been in the one that, I ended up we ended up taking an 8 hour canoe ride that shouldn't have been an 8 hour canoe ride, but it's Warhammer that got me through it. It's that guy has gotten me through every situation Andy didn't want to be in. Andy goes away, Warhammer handles everything, and there is no complication after that point. So you want to call it split personality, but just like Mike Tyson didn't like watching himself in the ring, I understand that guy scared him. That's the way I talk about Warhammer, because he is a different guy, but he's right there waiting.
Yeah, definitely. What is So I mean, have you and Iron Belly, have you ever wrestled each other?
We have not. That is one of the things when I created Sons of Plunder, I kind of said this is not something we're gonna break up. You're not gonna book us in some place and we're gonna break up and then we're gonna come together. No, if you want us to feud, no, 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 that is not what Sons of Plunder do. You don't book us at that point. If it's a round robin type situation, we'll work on it. But no, sir, we have never wrestled against each other at all.
So, like hypothetically, if it's like a rumble or it's some sort of battle royal that y'all are trying to win some sort of individual prize, that would be a door opening. But as far as like the way y'all structured your characters, y'all pretty much like brotherhood. Y'all are going to be like with each other. There's not going to be okay.
That's it. That's it. I mean, I kind of joked with them. I was like, "You're Sons of Plunder until you die. You decide when you're no longer part of this group. We do not break up. We just stop taking bookings at such and such locations if that's what they want. We can go individually. That's fine. But Sons of Plunder isn't needed. But they're all so we're all independent, but we're all under the same umbrella. If that makes sense, everybody can go anywhere they want. They are independent, but if you want the group, you take the group as a whole,
Yeah, because I mean, the idea is, you're booking this character. You should be booking it for what it is, not booking it and then trying to mold it into something that it's not. Because at that point, it's not even the character anymore. It's your interpretation of what you want the character to be and not what the character is.
Correct. Correct.
And I
And
mean, now, y'all don't have necessarily, are y'all like pro heel or pro face? Or y'all able to you dabble back and forth on that?
so I stand by this, but I say we are cult. And by that, what was Undertaker? What was Stone Cold?
It's tweener.
It didn't matter. You're popping. Cult following, they've got their fans, and it doesn't matter. Good, bad, doesn't matter what they're doing. I remember choking somebody out. I'm a heel. I'm choking somebody in the corner, and I'm getting cheers. I don't know how to get over that I'm a bad guy. I'm choking him in front of the ref. But if I'm going to get cheers, well, then I'm just going to keep doing it.
Well, was that guy a face when you were doing that?
Yeah, he was a face.
Well, if you're choking him and you're being as dastardly as you can be, and they're still cheering you, then that person probably didn't do the work to get over enough himself.
But that's also the gimmick coming to play. You
Yes.
understand my gimmick now. Oh, he's choking him out. Oh, yeah, kick his ass. It's either gimmick or it's facial problem. And I'm saying the face being, that being the problem, not, his face, but the face's problem. He didn't do enough to get over as the underdog or show that he's even a legitimate threat. So, but that's kind of why I stand by that. I've choked somebody out and still gotten cheers. So we get cheers everywhere. It doesn't matter. We can play heel, fine. And we can play face, fine. We just need to know how to act, because we're gonna steal the show every show.
There you go.
Like last night,
Definitely.
we had an idea. if we'd have had more time, we were going to do glitter beards.
Oh, wow.
Full on glitter beard for both of us. We were faces, but we didn't get enough information ahead of time. It was a smaller turnout than we expected. So too many cons on the pro con, and we decided against it. But that was what we were going to do. I was going to do red and black glitter. He was going to do green and gold glitter.
That would have been a sight to see, seeing the Sons of Plunder glittered up.
I mean, one time we had face paint, face and body paint, but we looked like Heat Miser and Snow Miser or whatever it was from
Oh my
the
gosh.
claymation. That's what we were told. So we did it during Christmas. Yes, but that's the beauty. We get to do stuff occasionally that makes it. Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't do the glitter beards. I know everybody was waiting on pictures. Several people were waiting on that. We just didn't do it. There was not enough information. So
Yeah, because if you did that, you'd had to come out to Rock Me Amadeus. I don't know why, but I think that would have been funny if y'all come out to Rock Me Amadeus.
If we could find a metal or a hardcore version of that, I'll do it. I'll do it.
Oh my gosh, that would be hilarious to see y'all in glitter and then that just pop off. And then right when they say Rock Me Amadeus, you'll like kind of robotically hold up y'all's like hammers and stuff.
Rock Me Amadeus.
It's like the most like bombastic, crazy thing you would see, man. There's some Vikings here that are glittered up and they're coming out to a Rock Amadeus.
But there was Santa Claus there. There was the Grinch there. So I mean, it was big. We could have done it bigger, but unfortunately, it was kind of in just little awning, and it was outside, and it was cold, and I wasn't gonna go home covered in glitter, freezing.
Well,
so
the way you're describing this, you know what it really sounds like to me? It sounds like Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
yeah. Yeah. A great movie, great series. Yes. Gotta collect
It's
all
like
our fans.
It's like, yo, Bill, we got Santa Claus here, and we got some Vikings, totally rad. You know, they do that little guitar thing afterwards.
Yes. But that's what makes wrestling great. Like you've got some Vikings with glitter beards. You got the Grinch fighting Santa Claus. Santa Claus turns to the Grinch. 1, 2, 3. Oh my God! Now everybody's having a. Oh, okay. What just happened? A Yeti shows up. You know, it's just one of those things. It's like anything can happen with pro wrestling.
Yeah, and that's part of the joy of it, and that's why I encourage everybody, you know, that's listening here. If you haven't seen a live wrestling event, go watch one. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. So speaking of watching live wrestling, I'm going to talk about my show on the 20th here coming up, Winter Warfare in Marshall, Texas with League of Lions. I will be defending my digital media championship against Dax Xander, someone I faced a couple of times, someone who nearly took my eye a couple of months ago. So definitely going to get some payback for that. You know, I still have not given a receipt for that, but it's coming. So that will be, like I said, in Marshall on the 20th this month. I'm still working on bookings for next year, but we're gonna, you know, take a little bit of a break before we start posting again on those. So I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. I want to thank Kevin, Mr. Richard Fortune, for being a co-host. Been awesome. Also, there were some questions about how close is that to Houston? I wrestle all over Houston, Silsbee, Beaumont. I've wrestled in Houston at Coliseo. So you know, that I can get closer to you. I don't think you can come to Marshall. That's that's like a 4-hour drive. Would love to see you there. But yeah, long way from Houston, but I can come closer to Houston and let you know when I'm closer. But you asked about a t-shirt. Sons of Plunder is making our website. It's in the works. We now have 2 cents for beard oil. We are working on a third. It also talks about a beard wash, something we do definitely know about, we use. So the oils, the washes, the website, the t-shirts, we're getting all that set up through the website. So you can order all our merch through that. We've now got a Cash App to where you can order from Sons of Plunder, not just hitting one of us specifically, but I'm in MD, but I have family in Houston and would absolutely go to a show when there. Yes, sir. I can certainly let you know when I will be close. Houston is not far from where we're at in Silsbee and Beaumont, even Port Neches, all that. I've hit all those shows. And so, I will let you know when I'm closer, but for sure keep in contact. But again, thanks everybody for tuning in. Tune in next week, and we'll talk again. Thanks everybody.